Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel and thank you for tuning in. I hope you all having absolutely fantastic days. In today's video, we are taking a look at Bitcoin, the total cryptocurrency market, and the total altcoin market in our analysis. We're going over the short-term price action, the macro price action, the key levels you should be paying attention to from a technical and a structural perspective across all charts, and of course, exactly what is happening and what is likely to occur next. We are going to be discussing the potential for rejections from 115,000 and also exactly what needs to happen for the price to continue through this resistance and see a market-wide recovery. We'll also be taking a look at the broader markets and of course the market data in the video today. Let's jump on into it, but before we do, make sure to smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, just pure, raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, you can join us on Telegram with the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop for cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in joining our VIP channel, you can do that by clicking the pinned comment of the free channel, contact our admin by clicking this name, or check out all our information such as our trading track record and of course our videos showing you inside the channels. Go ahead and check it out. And let's jump on in. So taking a look, guys, we have seen a little bit of volatility over the past 24 hours, mainly upward volatility as the total cryptocurrency market cap did see a little bit of a bounce here on the daily. If we look at the daily chart, we saw a little bit of a bounce over here, pushing back up to retest that prior break of structure. It's actually coming back into a point of resistance as we speak here. As for the altcoin market on the right side of the chart, we can see the altcoin market has come up to retest the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud. Not quite the $1 trillion level, but that baseline, the Ichimoku cloud, is going to be acting as a dynamic level of resistance. We are currently still sitting underneath this on the daily open. Looking at Bitcoin, we have seen a continuation upward here for Bitcoin into that 115,000 to 115,500 resistance, currently still sitting underneath this point. Again, what was once strong support is now turned into strong resistance. So we need to break through here to be confident in continuations back into this channel and hopefully upwards. But until then, this is going to be a major point of resistance where rejections can develop from. So we'll be taking a look at that today. Paired up with the fact that total cryptocurrency market cap is coming back to retest this resistance, we are sitting at a very delicate position for the market, almost like a fork in the road for the market where it's got two choices. It's going to either break through these resistances, facilitating absorption and strong continuations, or this is going to be the end of this short-term bullish mean reversion before we then see the market come back down a little bit. Looking over at the higher time frame charts, we have seen that negative momentum shift, which is something we have discussed, but we are still hanging on to that overall uptrend. If we go ahead and zoom in a little bit to this uptrend, this diagonal uptrend here since back at 74,000, we are still hanging on to that, which is a great sign. However, that will line up with that 112,000 point of support, which we know to be that short-term reversal point, that prior buy-side liquidity. So we've got the point of confluence over here. If we do drop below that point, that will spill over into broader market corrections. We'll discuss that in the video today. So the whole premise of today's video, and as you can kind of gauge already, we are sitting at a delicate point now, a fork in the road point where pretty big determined moves are going to be developing from, depending on how the market reacts to this prior level of resistance. Let's start on the market data. We'll come back. Volume and liquidations coming up a little bit as we exit the weekend. Nothing out of the ordinary there, guys. We exit the weekend, volume does pick up 47%, 261 billion. So relatively high, but not massive. Liquidations pushing pretty high here too, 227 million. That's up 61% over the past 24 hours. Around about 163 million in short liquidations, the remainder coming from long. So again, a little bit more of the short side liquidated as the market did push upward, particularly for Ethereum, as we saw a very large move upward for Ethereum comparatively to the altcoin market, even for Bitcoin. So a lot of liquidations coming just alone from the Ethereum chart over here. Moving over to the DXY, bit of a rejection here on that daily for the DXY. If we're looking at upcoming interest rates, the probabilities are actually shifting in favor of a reduction. That was mainly because of a massively weakened job market in our last report. So it's pushed up to 94.4%. It is important to note this isn't set in stone. The upcoming inflation data can solidify this probability or completely deconstruct it as a possibility. So we are watching upcoming inflation reports this month, but overall that's a good sign, right? This is the highest we've seen, I think, in recent memory for a probability-wise rate reduction on this interest of this entire last 12 months. I don't think we've seen 94% or even above 90% in terms of probabilities of future interest rate reduction. So it's a good sign. Sentiment might be shifting towards that, but again, we need to see that actually develop. We actually need to see it happen for it to matter. So moving over to the S&P 500. Of course, with interest rate expectations really pushing up over there, we've seen a bit of a reversal for the S&P 500, and that reversal occurred from the point of support we marked out in yesterday's video. We said we were entering a massive high time frame area of support over here. Holding this area of support would facilitate a bounce. We've actually seen a bounce now back to that 50 EMA. So we've seen mean reversion occur back to the 50 EMA. So we are expecting potential rejections develop from this point. If we are now able to sustain back above 6,337, this level of prior resistance, we will see continuations back up. If we drop back below here, it is likely we have created a higher low and we will push back down to 6,100. So watching to see how that develops, a good reversal, but we now need to sustain above this what was once resistance as a level of support. So good start. Watching to see how that develops. So let's go ahead, guys, and jump into Bitcoin. Like we said, a bunch to be taking a look at today. Before we get into it, make sure to go ahead and sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, and BingX with the exchange links down below. You got a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume. You'll go to support me making this content on a daily basis. And of course, guys, you'll support yourself in your trading journey. Check it out. We'll play an ad and we'll get right back into it. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other two exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Okay, legends, let's go ahead and get right back in. So Bitcoin, the total cryptocurrency market cap, the altcoin market cap, the weekly charts, the short-term charts, the technical levels, the structural levels, you name it, we're covering it in the video today. And I want to start by taking a look at the short-term charts, because a lot has happened here for Bitcoin on the short term. So let's minimize all these indicators for a second, and let's just discuss the key levels from a horizontal and a trend-based perspective. We're going to be watching this week, and this is going to be a very important week for it, because if we're looking at this horizontal trend, which is going to be, or this horizontal level, which is going to be around about this 115,000, pushing up to just above 115,500, essentially backing its change of character. This was that this is about a 2 week long, so a multi-week horizontal point of support, right? This was the base level of support of the horizontal consolidation we saw, where Bitcoin just bounced, ping-ponged around for about 2 and a bit weeks between 15 to 120,000. So what was once support is now resistance. But if we go ahead and just drag that level out, all the way out until we meet up with this diagonal point. And this diagonal point is actually going to be the trajectory of the trend, the uptrend, the diagonal trend we have been in since 74,000. So this is a massive trend, you know, by all means. 74,000 to 115 is a 53% trend over here, and that's just to market price. We pushed up to 123,000. If we look at the date of which we're seeing apex, that is sitting at the 16th of August. So looking from where we are today, we are at, again, the 5th of August, the 16th, that's in 10 days. So within the next 10 days, we are going to be making a definitive directional move, whether that be the loss of a multi-month uptrend. Again, this uptrend has spanned back since April. So we've got April, we've got May, June, July, August. We're in September. So 4.5 to 5 months, well, not in September, we're coming into September, 4.5 to 5 month long trend over here. That is that confluence point. So we're either going to be breaking below that 4 and a bit month long uptrend, which will trigger the initiation, the confirmation of a downtrend beginning, which we discuss in a second, right? We haven't got confirmation of the downtrend beginning on the high time frame yet, but that will be part of the fact that we've actually sustained above this trend, thankfully. But of course, we also have confidence at the $115,000 level, which we know to be the trigger point for us to see continuations potentially back to 120, which we know can trigger new all-time highs of the market. So within the next, 10 days, and it usually happens nearing that last 30% point. So I'd even say between now and the 12th of August, we are very likely going to see a definitive directional move between 115 or this uptrend breaking. And that is going to lead to a pretty large move in the market. Not so much, you know, large as in rapid, but large in terms of significant. It is going to move the market in a significant way. So let's take a look at these key levels, break it down from a bullish and a bearish perspective. From a bullish perspective, Bitcoin has bounced from 112,000, which is a great sign. The $112,000 level was the buy side liquidity. As we mentioned in our post on Telegram a few days ago, we broke down all of these key levels if you're watching, and we determined over here 112,000 was the short-term support and reversal point. So we saw short-term support sustain, and we saw a reversal originate, which facilitated a move to 115,000. 115,000 is still going to be the key point of resistance Bitcoin will need to break through. If we do not break through 115,000, Bitcoin is not going to be going higher. So let's zoom out now and take a look at these higher time frame trends. We'll come back to the short term. When we're looking at the current trend, we can see we have got three things we are watching. We are watching strength, structure, trend, right? This is to determine whether or not a reversal is going to be have a high probability of succeeding, or whether or not it's going to result in a fake out or a failed breakdown or breakup, no matter which way we're looking at it. So when we're looking at this, we look at number one, we look at trend. Is the price in a uptrend? So if we're looking for, let's just say we're looking for a downward reversal, we have to ask ourselves, what is the trend like? Are we in an uptrend, or have we broken that uptrend? Currently, we are sitting above the diagonal uptrend, therefore we are in a uptrend. So if we're looking for a reversal, that is not going to be a point towards that reversal confirming, since the trend is still positive. When we're looking at strength, we are watching something like momentum. What is the momentum suggesting in regards to the trend of which we are watching? Not the entirety of the chart, but just that visible range, or just that range of price we are watching, the trend. Is the momentum positive? Well, we have the local lows from the price chart respecting the bounce points of the pivot points in the RSI, and we have seen a breakdown or a loss of that trend, representing again negative momentum. So we've got a tick. And in terms of structure, we have got no relevant structure market pattern developing within this trend. So we only have got one out of the three, in this instance, one out of the two valid for a confirmation of a directional continuation down. So it's a low probability for a confirmation of a continuation down, but since we have got 1 point, it is still potentially valid and we need to pay attention to it. So what does this mean? It means corrections are potential and plausible, but they are not activated yet. They are not of high confidence yet. The trigger point to turn this into something that is possible, into something that is highly likely, is going to be the loss of this 112,000 $112,000 level. As we mentioned, 112,000 lines up with the confluence point of that uptrend, which will trigger corrections likely into 110 and sub $110,000. So that is what we are watching for steeper corrections. So although it is not incredibly likely right now, it is very possible, but until we see the breakdown, it doesn't become likely. When we are looking at this horizontal consolidation, we have to understand that this was a neutral consolidation where there was essentially a battle between sellers and buyers, okay? What this pattern shows us is it shows us that the buyers were unable to absorb the selling pressure, so the sellers took over and pushed the price into the next level of support. Okay, we are coming back up to retest this point of demand over here where the buyers are going to test again whether or not they can regain control from the prior point of what was support into a point of resistance. If they fail to do so, it does mean the sellers are still in control of this trend and will likely push the price back down. So we need to see that flip happen. We need to see the price push back upwards for the buyers to facilitate continuation and fully absorb the selling pressure. In terms of this horizontal consolidation, we still have seen constant lower highs develop through this trend. So the trend, although we have seen a short-term bounce, which is fantastic, this is still going to be a downtrend on the short term until we can break through this horizontal resistance. So that is what we're watching for Bitcoin, guys. Of course, we can look at things like the 4-year cycle and we can say, well, the 4-year cycle doesn't say there's going to be a top until October 1st, the 6th of October. And yeah, sure, you can trust the 4-year cycle until it ends. Some people say it is better to trust the 4-year cycle while it is still technically valid. And when it breaks and after it breaks, well, then you can stop trusting it. So if you're going off that premise, well, yeah, there's a good chance we do see continuations upwards, and those targets we have are based on, again, the key dates from the 4-year cycle, the 6th of October being the key one. That's the traditional 4-year cycle, taking the uptrending diagonal resistance, the uptrending diagonal support, provided we sustain that support, the targets would be around 131 to 144,000 for Bitcoin if we do see that continuation. For that to happen again, we need to break through these levels and we need to break 120. So 120 is the trigger point. If you want to take a completely neutral stance on the market right now, say you don't know where it's going, you're not too confident in the direction, you're waiting to see how this is going to play out down here, like I'm doing, waiting to see how this is going to play out, and you just want to be more safe, $120,000 breakout is really what is going to trigger that next explosive leg up for Bitcoin. So you could almost have the stance that below 120,000, you're going to be in this zone here between 112 and 115. You're going to be a little bit more to the bearish side because you're just following the short-term trend, right? Between 115 to 120, you're going to be a lot more optimistic. Above 120, you're going to be completely bullish. And then below 112, you're going to be flipping to that bearish trend. So you could take that stance if you want. You don't have to be bullish right now. You don't have to be bearish right now. If we look at the short-term charts, right? All right, we're just looking at the short-term charts. So how you decide to do is, of course, up to you. But again, that is one way you can look at it if you want to take a cautious approach. Moving over, let's take a look at the total cryptocurrency market cap. And I guess this was the saving grace, and I talked about this in the prior video, and that was that although we've seen that deviation from the range, we saw the breakdown, the positive momentum has sustained on the total cryptocurrency market cap, which is a good sign for the cryptocurrency market cap. It does mean that although we've seen Bitcoin pull back, we've seen shifting downward on momentum for Bitcoin, there is still demand going on for Ethereum. There is still demand going on for altcoins, which is facilitating this market to sustain a little bit better. We are seeing, again, Bitcoin dominance come back down. We are seeing the altcoin market push back up. And we just observe the price action over the past 2 days since this low. Bitcoin hasn't recovered nearly as much as Ethereum has recovered. Altcoins recovered, some of them around 10%. So we're seeing that demand still in the market. We're still seeing optimism in the market, which is reflecting on this chart over here. But if we do see the total cryptocurrency market cap break down from this uptrend, the RSI, that is going to be a very strong confirmation that we are heading to the break of structure. 3.49 trillion, okay, basically rounded 3.5 trillion, okay. Sorry for my horrible numbers over here. It's hard to draw off this this marker. 3.5 trillion would be that expected target. So again, if you're trading on an invalidation approach, you could say this is an expected local top until proven otherwise, watching for corrections into points of support before then determining directional moves. So for now, again, watching to see how the price reacts at this particular level. Again, the level we are watching on that daily chart is going to be that prior break of structure point. So we can see, if we just go ahead, you know what, I'm going to draw a thicker line in here so we can see very clearly where this is. Let's go ahead and make this nice and thick. The break of structure point, we can see we have just come up to tested it. In fact, we've closed that daily candle just underneath. So we can see already the market is reacting to this level as a point of resistance. And again, if we fail to push through here, that is just going to trigger a continuation back down. If we look at the altcoin market for a second as a prime example of how that would play out, if we look at the altcoin market, we had a similar reaction here on that buy side liquidity. This point of major resistance over here, we saw the breakout, we failed to hold, we came down, found a local support, pushed back in to retest that rejection point, and we failed, and then we continued down. But if we were to have broken through here, that would have been a trigger for a continuation upwards. So we can see already how retesting rejection points can make or break the trend of the market. So we're watching that very, very closely. Again, for the altcoin market to go into that next massive leg up, we do need to break through 1.06. For us to be very optimistic in the altcoin market, for us to potentially start to take some swing longs. I'll be watching for 1 trillion to break. On the short term, looking very good over here, testing that baseline, bouncing from 940. We lose 940, we're absolutely ruined for altcoin markets. So as we said already, that level is really the point they need to hold, and we have held from there. But again, watching closely. So as you can get from the video today, we are at a crossroads in the market over here. We had a very, very important point in the market. And whether or not you like to believe the 4-year cycle or not, I think I'm on the fence a little bit more about the 4-year cycle this time around, but I do still consider these dates to be applicable and relevant. We are coming closer and closer to this date. And just as every cycle, the closer and closer we get to possible tops, whether it be macro tops or whether it just be local tops, the market does get a little bit more tricky to read, as it is a little bit more emotional and responsive to what is happening. So we do see a little bit more chop, a little more volatility, a little bit more unclear conditions, and that is completely normal. So we are watching the key levels, we're reacting based on the key levels. If these key levels are resistance, we are watching for rejections. If the key resistances break, we are then watching for demand above to flip those resistances into support for continuations upwards. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Have a fantastic day. Catch you guys on Thursday. I'll see you all then. Bye.